Delivering the message using full sentences produces a better quality in consecutive interpreting. It is important to know what consecutive interpreting deals with, what does it mean, what consecutive interpreters deal with, and some of the difficulties they face. That's the hypothesis. Delivering the message using full sentences produces a better quality in interpreting stands true or not, and what are some of the factors that influence the consecutive interpreter's output. This study will go deeper by analyzing 10 cases of novices performing consecutive interpreting. How do they cope with terminology used in source language, stress, time pressure, listening process, and moreover, giving the message in full or fragmentic sentences, and how it does influence the quality of interpreting. These people will analyze in detail some possible failures regarding the work environment, the mental, emotional, psychological stress, and will provide comparing individual performances of consecutive interpreting for 10 novices. Serving as a review on interpreters' abilities and disabilities, this research will make an attempt to examine some of the factors that influence interpreting and its quality. This subject definitely has and still grabs the interest of interpreters, clients, and researchers. That's why this research is of much more significance as it gives important keys influencing negatively or positively interpreters' output. Nowadays, it is greatly described by examples of a pilot study and gives voice to the call for more research over interpreters' output as well. Which are some of the main problems that I've raised here? As you know, being a good interpreter means producing a good quality of interpreting. The main question raised in every interpreting academic environment lies in the capabilities required to determine a good interpreter. Language communication is an ability. Just we humans take advantage of it, and it is an exclusive right of human brains only. Is a language competence that determines interpreters' quality? Producing a qualitative interpreting does not involve only the language competence, but also knowledge and strong learning ability, as the interpreting field is and will never be limited on subjects and various fields. The interpreter owns a challenge towards himself to gain as much knowledge as possible in every exciting field. Only having a wide range of knowledge an interpreter will be able to understand the information and moreover to retell it correctly in the target language. Thus, to be as much qualitative as it is possible, an interpreter should make use of various techniques regarding keynotes, the note-taking process, and the easy utterance of the interpreter. Other important factors influencing interpretation and its quality are also voice volume and the speaker pitch and speed of the speech, and last but really important factor, the setting on which the interpretation takes place. A setting used in consecutive interpretation should be by high quality in order not to badly influence input process and damage this way the quality of interpreters' output. One of the most basic elements that interpreting involves is undoubtedly the listening process. Without listening, there is no understanding, thus there is no interpreting. The essence of interpreting stands on hearing clearly what the speaker says and profoundly understand what the speech talks about in order to easily reach the keynotes. If an interpreter will face problems with listening during the process of interpreting, then he certainly will not produce a qualitative output in the target language. It does exist always the risk to fail in listening process, especially when the interpreter does not have experience. During consecutive interpreting, there is also the risk that the interpreter loses the links between sentences, not knowing who does what to whom, what has to be changed because of what and by whom, may have problems with tenses and also the symbols or abbreviations. In such cases, the interpreter will lack somewhat from the quality of his interpreting, but the greater risk here stands the fact that his facial expression and the tone of his voice, apart from having a very negative impact on the quality of interpreting, often indicates to the audience that he is totally lost. The interpreter should manage situations like that and show the audience that he is one with the speaker and that he does have control of every single letter, uttered by the speaker. In consecutive interpreting exists also what are called problematic fails. Depending on the nature of the failure, Thomas classified problematic fails into two categories. And which are some of the conclusions that I presented in this paper? We talked a lot about being a good interpreter, and we know being a good interpreter means producing a good quality of interpreting. Is a language competence that determines interpreters' quality. Interpreters who are masters of language produce a very qualitative interpreting compared to them with the weak abilities on language. Interpreters should own a very good command of both linguistic knowledge and cultural knowledge in order to fulfill the task of helping the speaker from a different cultural background communicate successful. Anyway, consecutive interpreters are faced with a lot of difficulties such as time pressure, setting environment, individual and psychological stress, limited information of the respective subject to be translated, and reflects a negative impact on the quality of interpreting. Consecutive interpreting fully involves the process of listening, as it's the main medium of gathering information, and the interpreter has to try to be very attentive to every sound uttered by the speaker, and he or she wisely should choose how to use listening as the must zone in order to produce interpretation of quality. The length of the discourse certainly affects the quality of interpreting. Long sentences will cause a problem for the interpreter, as he has to convey all the meaning of the speech without forgetting important facts. In this case, the interpreter makes use of his memorizing ability and provides just the ideas of what has been said by the speaker. The interpreter should also be able to use of using his conversational skill in order to run the delivery of the message in appropriate manner. Does the hypothesis delivering the message using full sentences producing a better quality in interpreting stands true or not? And what are some of the factors that influence the consecutive interpreter's output? By analyzing 10 cases of novices performing consecutive interpreting, how do they cope with terminology used in the source language, stress, time pressure, listening process, and moreover, giving the message in full or the pragmatic sentences, and how it does influence the quality of interpreting? This paper will show that for delivering of the message, we looked at some aspects of the interpretation delivery, like sound, word phrase, and flow of information. From 10 novices, 9 of them give the message in full sentences, but not all of them are competent in the required language. Not all these 9 interpret smoothly, reflecting tone and emotion appropriate to the situation, so the listeners find the situation easy to listen to. This study will go deeper by analyzing 10 cases of novices performing in consecutive interpreting, and in divided these 10 cases in groups according to their quality.